Hey, I'd like to welcome everybody. This is an interview with Mary Jane Griego, and what had happened was yours truly was doing the morning interview, and somehow he pushed the wrong button or didn't push the right button. I don't know. Something happened. And so we're going to redo it. We'd like to talk a little bit with Mary Jane about the upcoming bond issue that actually will be voted on tomorrow. So right behind that. So we want to give an opportunity because she was on the air and all we talked about was Meatloaf Monday, and we're not going to do that, right? Hi, Mary. Mary Jane, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me back, and I appreciate it. Thank you to your viewers for listening in on a really important issue, and that is Measure S, the bond measure that we'll be voting on tomorrow. And I felt so passionate about it that I left the kitchen at Duke's Diner to come over here and talk to you about it.
Which is huge.
It's huge because there's a lot of hungry people over there. And so
don't worry, folks. I'll go quick. She'll be over there. The meatloaf will happen.
I'll be right there. And so I want to talk about this bond measure and how the impacts of this community. I've been on the Board of Supervisors for a number of years. I know infrastructure. Currently, I sit on the Board of Directors for Oliver's Public Utility District. And I can tell you straight from that position is that we are still building houses. Mm-hmm. And those impacts to our schools is what really I'm concerned about. This bond measure, it's a $97 million bond measure. And what it's going to be built, what it's going to be used for is replacing the old Alicia School that was in Linda. And now it will be housed on Hamilton Smartsville Road. We need that school. We need that school. Currently, Yuba Gardens is carrying the burden, and they're busting out at the seams. You know, we see more people moving into our community. That means more children coming to our schools. And so the bond measure will include that middle school that we desperately need. It will also put a brand new gym at Marysville High School as well as Lyndhurst High School. Any extra money will be divvied to the arts, music and the arts, which I'm a big supporter of the arts.
Yeah, same here.
Absolutely.
That's important. There's things that the schools have had to quit doing because of finances, and it's always great when something's put back in. Mary Jane, I know there's a little clarity that I have asked for, and you gave it to me. I didn't realize that when Alicia closed, that you actually had already purchased the land. So the money for the bond is not to purchase land. It's to actually put the facility, the infrastructure on the land, correct?
That is correct. Yeah, the bond measure in the past purchased, with 60% of the purchase price of that property. So it's free and clear with the school district. This money will be just designated to, build that infrastructure, that building that we desperately need. So, with that being said, a lot of folks have said, I can't afford any more taxes. And hey, we've been in business for over 60 years. We know about the tax debt, but the way I look at it and the reason I'm so passionate about this is because this is an investment. I don't see it as a tax per se because of the fact that it's an investment in our young people, and we desperately need these facilities. The other part of that is that a tax goes on for usually ever.
Ever.
Yeah.
They never go away.
They never go away. But with a bond, it's different. They have a sunset. So there's a term, and usually the term is 20, 25, 35 years. And so this will not be on your tax rolls forever. In fact, there was 3 Marysville Joint Unified School District bonds on my tax, because I pay taxes, just like everybody else does. And one of them just recently came off because it paid off.
Yeah. I think that's important to understand that there is a difference between a tax and a bond, right? Or a levy or whatever, right? They call them. And knowing, and you brought up something else, knowing this goes really in many ways, when we invest in kids, we're investing beyond our life. That's and right. I want to bring up this point. So if a new school is built, what grades would that be?
So my understanding is that it would relieve the pressure from Yuba Garden School. It would also relieve the pressure from the elementary schools because now kindergartners are going to school. And so you get the compression on both sides from the 8th grade to the kindergartners. And so this relieves some pressure. My understanding, it would be for 6th, 7th, and 8th. And that's the way, when I went to Yuba Garden School, that's what we had, 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Is it going to be called the Mary Jane Griego School?
Yeah, that's great. Sounds really good, too.
They're not calling it the fish school. I am telling you right now, nobody's naming it the fish school. When it's my understanding that when a corporation, a major corporation, decides to move to a given area, part of what they look at is schools. Because they're execs, they're employees,
That's right.
They got to put their kids in school. So we are building new homes. We are wanting new business to come. So does it make sense then that they're probably going to look at overcrowding as not a good thing for their kids? I mean, in other words, it goes beyond just it has a lot to do with the whole economy, the whole picture. Everything affects something else.
That's right.
So is that possible, Mary Jane, that a business may pass by Marysville because the schools are overcrowded?
Absolutely. And not only big business, but Beale Air Force Base.
Oh.
Mama makes the decisions where they're going to live. And Mama's on the, on the iPad looking at, the schools and what they have to offer.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so we're losing, those people that should be living in our community instead of commuting on our highways and adding more to that infrastructure of traffic, traffic jams. I mean, I was on my way over here and I got stopped in the middle of the highway because can't get into Marysville. People are coming from other places.
Yeah.
They should be living here.
Yeah.
We have the housing and the different tier of housing from starter to, around the golf course type of housing. And so we want them to live here. We want them to invest here. We want their children to go to school here.
So the bond issue would, in terms of, I don't want to sound like I'm stuck on the new school, but in a way I am, because I had ended up at a board meeting and the woman that gave the presentation, I can't remember her name, but she made it very clear. We are building homes, which means more families are moving in. And I don't know how much they have to look when they approve subdivisions or whatever. Is there the schools to accommodate that? Right. But it would sound to me like, the money, there's no other way for money to come but a bond issue. And that bond issue is the state does add to it, don't they?
That's right. And so, first of all, I want to make the point that building new schools and facilities doesn't get cheaper the longer you wait.
No.
It gets more expensive and even more difficult. And so when the voters are approving a bond in their area in order to build facilities, because like you just stated, that's how you get facilities, is through these bond measures. Then the state says, okay, you've got your bond money. We're going to match that money in order to build the structure. You have to prove to the state that you have the dollars by the voters approving these bonds. And then you're able to draw. You're able to draw on the state money. And building levies was the same way. We had to go out and we had to, ask people to assess themselves in order to be able to draw the money from the state. They want those equal partnerships with the community and the state in order to build these infrastructure, these schools. I refer to it as infrastructure, but in reality, it's the facilities that we have, for the schools and for the young people, and to have that environment for learning. Right now, I mean, you can't imagine having a classroom that has more than it should. It's not a conducive, learning experience, and so really, we're in a desperate situation, and that's why I'm here, and that's why I'm supporting Measure S, is because we need to do that.
It's almost as though when Alicia closed, that it would have been great to do it immediately, but there were a lot of factors involved in that you couldn't foresee. But I was glad that somebody had the foresight, let's buy the land.
Exactly.
Right? Where is that land? Where will the new school be located?
It's on Hamilton-Smartsville Road. And my understanding, I haven't looked at a map in a while, but it's in an area where it's going to be developing housing.
Oh.
So it'll be right smack into the neighborhood. As development occurs, you'll start seeing housing, just like Edgewater. Edgewater is Edgewater's map was approved back in the early 80s, and now we're finally starting to see Edgewater built out. So you're going to see that building jump across the street and start moving in that direction towards Hamilton Smartsville Road.
I was saying off air when you and I were talking, I was saying, if I'm homeless and you tell me, well, I'm going to do this or that for you, but there's no home, I'm still homeless.
That's right.
And so the bond, we have kids that are crowded or are just simply at some point there's going to be no place to go. And I grew up in an inner city school where it was very crowded, and it is harder. Sure. I mean, I remember as a kid. Well, I don't want to talk about my grades, Mary Jane. Look, I did better in college, and so But if you tell me this, but you don't build me a home, I'm still homeless. My situation doesn't change. And so there is an element of this that is absolutely to do with the kids, right? If they don't have a place to go, they'll either be overcrowded. And at what point does somebody say you can't have that many kids? It's a safety issue. The fire department will tell you can only have so many people in a facility. And so there is, if something isn't done, is there the potential that if something is not done to pass this, that we could end up in a really dire straits in terms of the number of children if people keep moving here?
Yeah, and I don't even want to go through those scenarios because none of them are positive for the community, the students, the teachers, or the outlining areas. It's just not a good scenario, and that's why we're here today, and that's why we're talking about this. Is because it's that important. If you look at the graduation at Yuba Gardens School, I mean, I pass by there because I live in that community, and it's huge. I mean, there's over 800 students in that school, and you see the modulars that have been moved in to, take care of to the spillover, And so I want our children to know that this community cares enough to make those investments. It's not about, this money doesn't go to teachers. It does not go to administrators and, making them rich because, that's not what this is about. This is about facilities. And we need those facilities. There was a commitment in the past about building or replacing Alicia School. And there's a whole story behind why Alicia was torn down, because there was a gas line right underneath it. And when they found that out, that became a liability. And so replacing that is really important to the people like me who have been here in this community for a long time. I went to Yuba Gardens. And so Alicia was our, we were rivals, when it came to sports.
So you got rid of them.
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't do that. But what I'm saying is that I understand how they feel.
Yeah.
If it would have been Yuba Gardens, I would have understood how they feel. And I think that delivering this promise, this commitment, I really think it's going to make a lot of people happy.
Just one last question from me, and then I'd like you to just kind of, this is where I'm at and why.
Yeah.
And that is, how long has it been since the Alicia School has closed? How many years?
Oh, man. I'm saying anywhere from 13.
Wow.
I mean, it's been.
I didn't realize it was that long.
And time runs so fast at our age. So it's like, I could be off. But
I'm not going to make any as you get older statements. I'm not doing it.
But the thing is that it's been many years.
Yes.
And so I'm saying maybe 13, 15 years.
Wow.
And so it's long overdue. And here's an opportunity with Measure S. And I say that Measure S really stands for students. That's
good.
me. That's me. And always thinking about things like that. And so, for the people who are listening, I just want to, I think I've made my point in regards to how important this issue is and where that money is going to be spent. I mean, I think the one thing we didn't really cover was, people are concerned about how much it's going to cost. I'm concerned about how much it's going to cost.
Yeah.
And so looking into it, we figured monthly, it's between $11 and $14 if your house is appraised or appraised at $400,000. Some of us are higher, some of us are lower. So that dollar amount is based on the valuation of your home, and it goes on your taxes.
Understood.
So what happens is your payment may change, by $10 or $11 or even less, more or less.
I just want to know that my meatloaf's not going to be more expensive because of this.
No, and I'll guarantee you it will stay the same. The cost will stay the same and the quality will stay the same. So that's
I
funny.
appreciate you. Thank you for the way you are about the community. And, you know, you're a, how do I say that, a long-term resident. You know? I'm trying to be careful here. You've been here a while.
Yeah,
You grew up here, and I know how significant that is. And so you do watch things. You didn't choose to move out of here.
Nope.
You've stayed. You have a business here. Your dad was here. Everybody was here for you, your family. And then I remember meeting you when you ran for supervisor.
Yeah.
And it was the area that you lived in, right? And so now I didn't know that, but I didn't know that you were a Yuba Gardens graduate.
Oh, yeah. I was president of the class.
Oh, come on. I started
politics a long time ago. Got my start at Yuba Garden School.
Vote Mary Jane.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize it started.
I remember my campaign slogan.
Stop. What was it?
It was Porky the Pig, and it goes, Porky says, vote for Mary for pres.
Porky. But that's all, folks.
That's all, folks. That's exactly right. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I remembered that.
Well, we just want to thank Mary Jane for coming on, talking about Measure S. I hope that this has been informative. Tomorrow, you'll get an opportunity to vote yay or nay on the measure. And I just wanted to make sure we've had different people on at different times to talk about it, to make sure that we had a clear understanding. And I really want to thank you, Mary Jane, for taking the time to come on to try to make it clear. I feel like a lot of times things, even people we vote for, it ends up being name recognition. People have said, Fish, you ought to run for office. And I tell them the reason I don't run for office is I've met people who have. And so it's like, I don't want to do that. It's too much for me. But I can bring them on the air. We can talk about it. And in this particular case, I don't remember another time that we've talked about a specific measure. So thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And you guys that are listening, leave a comment below so they know what you're thinking.